This is a real Joe Fingas show. If you're tuning in, then you know I wanna ask a favor of you. One thing I'd like you to do is get your friends to subscribe right at the bottom of the screen. Just sub it, yeah, subscribe. If you don't know what I mean, I know you do. I meant to say, if your friends don't know what you mean when you say sub it, just take them to my channel and let them touch it. I mean the subscription button, the subscription button, the subscription button. And if you wanna buy a t-shirt, Joe Fingas or Finger Fire, just hit up that PayPal. And I will address your every desire. If I can't do anything else, you give me $20, I'll send you a t-shirt. And I'm digging up CDs that I did myself, or maybe with my band Finger Fire. Who else? And I'll get them to you, $10 a pop. I might work out a package deal. They call it something else now. But being real honest with you, I don't know all the terminology. I know you heard from Finga Smyth. His version of the story, well, that's bullshit. I'll tell you the real skinny, just as long as you tune in on Fridays at 11 a.m. Click the like and make a comment, my friend. This is the real Joe Fingas show. I'm saying that as if you didn't know. I know you're here because you want to be. I know you're here because you want to see what happened next with me, or what happened in the past. Almost done with this song. In fact, I think I'm at the last modified verse. It could have been worse. I'm just thanking God it ain't my first time. This is a real Joe Fingas show. I'll say it again in case you didn't know, in case you turned me off like most my friends. The song is coming to an end. Here it goes. Welcome everybody to the real Joe Fingas show. We're gonna get real today. I know. Just listening back to some of the highlights of the St. Daniel, the Parking Lot Saints show, featuring the Not Quite Right. Believe me, I'm the one who came up with this. The Not Quite Right. Reverend Dr. Joseph, say I'm imitating him, Dr. Joseph Fingas Smyth. I'm telling you, he said I stormed out, that I was irate. I mean, I saw what he said. I don't think Sean Williams edited it out anyway to make it look bad. It looked bad enough. I heard what he said. I saw what he said. Because I could read lips. Even if it was silent, I could read lips. I stormed out indignant, saying it's never coming back. He comes in with his robes on, his sunglasses, talking that fiery preacher rhetoric stuff. And then he's looking at me and saying, what's he doing here? What am I doing here? This is my show. What you think I'm doing here? I'm making sure that you don't take over. But, you know, he got the best of me. He started his this and that. And I was kind of glad he spilled the coffee, because there was a couple of times he was flailing around in his hand and would hit me. I thought he was going to throw it in my face. And it was still hot then. You know, this hoity-toity kind of holier than thou kind of stuff. And it's not even like a church to a God, to a higher power. It's my brother. And I agree he's a saint, but a saint's a person. It's my brother. I know all the down and dirty, nitty-gritty stuff about my brother. That's coming out in a book pretty soon. You know, I'm going to have it up on Kindle. And, you know, that's why, that's why, well, anyway, I don't want to get into that. Those are bigger fish than I can fry. Those are too big a fish for my frying pan. If you understand what I'm saying, too big a fish. But Smyth, he thinks he's a big fish. He's not even a big fish in a small pond. He's a minnow in a small pond. Because this is a small pond. The real Joe Fingas show, a small pond. Small pond. And he thinks I'm a little pond. He thinks I'm just not knowing what he's trying to do. Move in, take over, talk about my brother, imply that I'm not even his brother. Not even his brother. I am his brother. I'm his older brother. I was there. I saw this stuff. You know, I got fired up. I don't know if Sean did it on purpose. You know, he doesn't seem like a guy who wants to stir things up, but I guess he could get bored behind the board. Bored behind the board? Yeah, I guess he could get bored, but it seems like he works like 100 hours a day on videos and stuff. It just seems like he's tired. He doesn't even care about whether things are exciting or not. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? You know, maybe that's not true. I mean, you know, I got this committee in my head telling me it's not true, that he likes to stir things up every once in a while. He likes a little controversy, probably makes it good for videos. Well, I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to him. And then there was something else he played me. Something about ask Joe Fingas about reading upside down. Okay, this is going to go. And he stole something from me. No one asked him, where is this going? They asked me in my letters to me, like, where is this going? I'm interested in where is this going. That's what I'm interested in, is where is this going? This means the purpose of the show. People said, and he stole this from me too. And I stole these from him. So, you know, finders keepers, losers, losers. They just stay losers, especially if you're Smyth. But he asked me, well, there's that part. People ask me, where are you going to go from here? What are you going to do with this? They like me reading stuff. That's what this is. Here we go. When I get excited, I just go off in tangents and I can't even remember what I was going to say. And now that I'm older, I can't even remember what I'm going to say even when I'm feeling calm. But so they said they like me reading from this stuff, but it's about my past. Is there anything that's going to happen in the present? And I hope so. But this reading upside down, I'm not bad at reading upside down. I can read upside down. And here's how I found out how I could read upside down. It started in school, in elementary school. I don't know if you can believe this or not, but I'd get sent up to the principal's office, usually the vice principal's office, for talking too much in class or playing too much or not paying attention or whatever it is. I got sent up for it. And that was all right with me. I didn't mind getting sent up to the office. But I was always interested in what the teacher said. And then I started to find out that what the vice principal said, that the teacher said I did, wasn't always the truth. That they exaggerated what the teacher said about me. Like they were trying to use psychology on me. Like they were trying to rile me up and get me upset and maybe confess, I don't know, to whatever it is they were saying I did or whatever it is they were saying the teacher said I did. So I found out I had this ability. When one of the vice principals, I was in like in 4th or 5th grade, had the report of what I did right there on the desk. And unlike many vice principals, that person's room was well lit. I noticed this. Vice principals like dark rooms. I don't know why. Ominous, scary kind of dark rooms, you know, like you're entering the dark side from the lobby or the office of the school. Then you go into the room and it's dark. Well, this was well lit, so I could see the paper on the desk. And I leaned over like I was interested in what the principal or vice principal had to say, which I can't remember what they were saying, because I was starting to read upside down. My brain can do it. I said, I wonder what the report said. And the report said I was being talkative and that I was a minor disruption. And he was saying I was loud, jumping out of my desk, and saying I was a major disruption. So it wasn't the truth. And I saw I could read like that. And so I developed that talent because I met with all kinds of people in vice principal positions, in, PSI, pre-sentence investigations, parole officer, not parole, I'd be lying if I said parole, probation officers. And one instance in particular that I remember that I didn't have to go see a probation officer for because I lied through my teeth and I didn't get caught. I was quite a drinker at one time. I mean, an abusive alcoholic drinker. I don't mind saying that I drank too much and a lot of bad stuff happened. And when I was in my early 20s, I went to California and I stayed with my aunt and my grandmother because my aunt wanted me to get an education. And in California, I could enroll in the city college for next to nothing. It only was like $2.50, and I can buy used books at the used bookstore, college bookstore, and they were ultra cheap. And I got a job working, day labor, and then I got a steady custodial job, driving a mop crew van. And, well, first I was the helper, and then I became a driver. I got like 20 cents more an hour, so that made it almost $3 an hour I think I was making. But it was enough to buy my books and go to school. But what I liked to do was, smoke a little and drink a lot before I went to school. Yeah, but, I worked every day. I went to school drunk every day. Classes were cool. I wasn't getting anything done. I like to spend most of my time, I wouldn't smoke at the school. I did the smoking out. I did that before on my way to school, and then I did the drinking really in the study rooms. I pulled the curtains in the library and, check it out for an hour and do a lot of drinking in the study room. And I'd be blasted going to class. Sometimes I didn't make it to class. sometimes. If it was elementary school, I'd be sent to the principal's office for sure. But back then it was the early 70s, and people kind of laughed it off. Like, I started to think everybody was drunk in class. Wasn't necessarily the case, but most people were high, and I was the drunk. Anyway, so I've been working hard, going to school. By that time, I dropped out a lot of classes. I didn't let my aunt know because she was so happy I was going to class. And I go to work, but I rode my bicycle everywhere. And then I said I wanted to go out, and I lied to my aunt. I said I had a date. I said I had a date. I didn't have a date. If you knew me back then, you would know who would date me. I mean, if it's going out and hanging out, at a bar that opens at 6 a.m., which I'd be there waiting for it to open, and around 12 noon, some other barfly who happens to be a female, because I'm heterosexual, happens to be a female, comes in. If one thing happens, next thing happens, then I guess that's a date. Just sitting at the bar all day and nothing else to do but, decide that that's my woman, for the moment, until the next day when she decides she likes somebody else better. Because even in those dives, the women liked other guys better than me. I was such a bum. Such a bum. No exaggeration. Such a bum. So anyway, I told my aunt, I got kind of cleaned up. And I told my aunt I had a date, can I borrow a car? And so my poor aunt, she said, yeah. She was so happy that, oh, I'm glad you're meeting some people and that you're going to go out and do some things. I said, okay. I mean, I don't know why people didn't think about drinking history back then. It was a little bit different, I guess, as far as drinking and driving. But as soon as I got in the car, I started drinking, and I started thinking about a date. And that I didn't need to be hanging in those dive bars to get a date. That really, I need to take a step up. So I went to a strip club. Thought maybe I could find a nice girl there dancing. And I did find a nice girl there dancing, but I found out that bouncers didn't like me bothering the girls when they were up there dancing. So I got thrown out of that bar. Drunk. Well, if I didn't get the date I wanted, then I could go maybe and pretend, by watching a nice romantic movie. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers the Pussycat theaters that were all over California. They're XXX rated Pussycat porn theaters, So but they're actual cinema with a box office and everything. So now I barely remember this. I was pretty plastered, I was drinking Bacardi and Old English 800, and I had my poor aunt's back seat filled with, cans and bottles. And so I go up to the Pussycat Theater, and they were closed. They were closed. I didn't know what time it was. I must have spent a lot of time at that strip club, and I was going in and out of remembering things, blackouts, the experts call it. And the only thing I remember about the Pussycat Theater is I was giving the custodian my license, the guy who was mopping the floor in there, the janitor, or the guy who showed the movies, and then his other job was cleaning up. I'd hate to clean up in that theater, I had to tell you. I'm glad I didn't have that job. But I remember giving him my license, and then I remember getting into my aunt's car, and then I remember thinking, life ain't worth living because I ain't got a date. And I drove that car into something. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was a telephone pole or a tree. And then the next thing I know, I'm at the hospital, and there's two cops talking to me. And they're asking me if I was drinking. Well, the answer is, when you're drunk on your ass, basically handcuffed to the stretcher, and they ask you if you were drinking, my answer is no. I'm not drinking. Well, we're going to, and then they didn't say anything about testing me. I just assumed they already did the blood test, But I was going to maintain no. was going to maintain no. And so I said no. And then they let me go. They didn't arrest me. They let me go. I totaled the car, apparently. I don't know what I drove into. Kind of knew where I was. It was an area of Riverside, California at the time that was lined with all kinds of beautiful trees and, telephone poles and stuff like that. And it was basically going from a suburb, I guess it's a suburb, Arlington, and going into Riverside City proper. And I was hightailing it there, I guess, when I decided life wasn't worth living. Believe me, it wasn't like a profound kind of I'm depressed and I hate the way I'm living. It was just life ain't worth living, because I knew I was in trouble for something, and boom, I drove into something. And it's kind of like I used to work later on, when I stopped drinking. I used to work in a program where we kind of like presented programs to kids in high school. And then I was in this local high school, and there were all kinds of, fake bomb threats for a while. If anybody remembers Fort Walton Beach High School with the bomb threats, there was a ton of them 1 year or 2 years, 1 year for sure. And we'd all have to leave, and they'd search for the bombs, and there wouldn't be any bombs. And then I'm not saying that these people did all of the bombs, but they called in a bomb. They went off campus to go get something to eat during lunch break, and they were going to be late. And so they didn't want to be counted as tardy, so they called in a bomb threat. Well, these people got caught, and it was like, I just didn't want to be tardy, so I did this. And it's adolescent thinking. I mean, it's like, what kind of crazy thinking is that? It's teenage thinking. And that's kind of like my thinking when I drove into that, whatever. I still don't know what it was, tree or telephone pole. When I drove into that, that's how I was thinking. It wasn't a big deal. I'd rather be dead than face the music. I mean, that's how it was. That's how I was. But I wasn't dead, And then I'm trying to go back to the house where my aunt lives, because I had nowhere else to go. And I caught a ride with this couple. I remember it's a couple, and they're passing a joint to me, and we're smoking out in the car, and we're going, and I'm thinking, this is where I'm at. I'm still thinking date, and I'm thinking like the guy's wife is kind of liking me better than her husband, and I got thrown out of that car pretty quick. At least they didn't run me over, and so I make it up to my aunt's house, and she said the car's totaled and it smells like a distillery. And don't try to tell me you're not drinking. He said, I'm surprised you're not dead. And she was real mad. My aunt was a great person, but she cussed me. No, she didn't cuss me out. She was so mad she didn't say anything. If she was calling me a motherfucker, it would be one thing. If it was like just staring at the ground with that fierce look in her eye, that was enough to make me say, I got to go to work, because I did have to go to work. And then I found out that there was an accident report, and I wanted to read the accident report. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to read the accident report. So I went up there with my other aunt to get the accident report, and I started to read. And I started to read upside down. And I just got to the point where I drove, whatever they called me, they didn't call me this, the person of interest, or whatever they called me, drove his car into, and as soon as that happened, my other aunt grabbed a piece of paper and said, let me read it. You can't read upside down. I said, yes, I can. I can read upside down. Let me read it. And they said, no, I'll tell you what happened. That's my other aunt. She's just opposite of the other aunt. She thought this was funny, that I drove this car into whatever I drove it into. So I never did read the report. I just know I drove the car into something. And I knew what street it was because I could read it upside down. And so consequently, the insurance company, my aunt's insurance company, wanted to talk to me. It turns out that those cops who were interviewing me didn't take a blood test. I didn't get charged with a DUI. There I was. Yo, I'm good. I didn't get touched. I knew how to handle this. I played it smooth. I didn't have anything to do with it. The cops were incompetent and they didn't take a blood alcohol test, nor did I get any breathalyzer test or anything. They thought I was hurt worse than I was. But yo, I did it. I'm good. No one's going to touch me now. So I had to go and talk to the insurance company. And I was cocky, you know what I mean? And I went in there, and it didn't matter if I knew what I was talking about or not. Here's what happened. I sat down. There was a nice lady, middle-aged lady, I would say about 45, and I'm 22, 21, 22, something like that. And sit down there, and she's looking at, well, this was a pretty terrible accident. I said, yes, ma'am, it was a terrible accident. And she said, can you tell me what happened? And I started, and she had a little notepad on that she was writing down my report. And I started telling her what happened. You know, and it was the truth right up to, I was driving on this road, I was heading in this direction, and, you know, and then I drove into, and that's as far as I went. As far as I read upside down at the accident report, I was going in this direction, and I drove into, and then I said I drove into, I don't know, I can't remember even if I said a tree or telephone pole. But as soon as I said tree or telephone pole, I saw her eyes change. Her eyes changed like, that doesn't make sense. But she didn't say anything. So I just kept on. And I just kept on making up stuff. And I just kept on, I made this great story about the accident. That the more I was talking, the more I added, the more I could tell that was not the right direction in which I needed to go. So I decided, I noticed she was writing, you know, and so it was a long time ago because I'm not 22 anymore, obviously, and but I was able to read upside down what she was writing. So, you know, I'm just going to paraphrase it because most of all, when I combined her looks with what was being stated, I could read her mind. And her mind basically said, no fucking way did this happen the way in which this little dipshit is telling me it happened. No way. No way. And so my aunt got the report about, you know, a week later because they were quick in writing it up. And basically, she told me in no uncertain terms is that they didn't fucking believe you. That they knew you were lying. Don't bother to tell me anything. I know you were drunk. You were just the luckiest son of a bitch in the world to be alive. And you were even more than doubly lucky not to be arrested because those incompetent shits that masquerade as police officers didn't even bother to test you for being as drunk as you obviously were. It would have been a red letter day for them. They probably would have had a promotion with the problems you would have had. So that ain't the end of the story. The end of the story is this, is that this was the story just started about reading upside down. And there's no more reading upside down. But the stipulation that came from the insurance company is that I could never drive her car again. And also the stipulation from my aunt was if I wanted to continue staying at her house and staying in the room in which I was staying, and, you know, I was paying some rent and I was doing a lot of work around the house on my sober days. But if I wanted to stay, if if I wanted to stay in that house, then I was going to have to, and she's very fair, I was going to have to pay for half the car. I was going to make half of the payment every month because her vehicle that I wrecked was halfway paid off. The insurance company paid off that vehicle, but did not buy her another vehicle because of some of the circumstances by which they doubted my sincerity or my ability to be honest about the accident. So I agreed, and this is how much I love my aunt. I didn't try to skip out on one payment, and that was basically a miracle for me at the time. I didn't get sober, but I didn't skip out on any payment. And this was in the 70s. And when I went to see my aunt, who was dying in 2004, went up of colon cancer, when I went to see her and I sat down and talked with her, one of the first things she told me, she says, "Remember that accident you had?" I said, "I remember it." I said, "I was drunk as hell." And she says, "I know." I said, "Well, I just want to tell you, I was drunk out of my mind. I'm sorry." She says, "Don't worry about it." She says, "You know, on that insurance, they still have a rider saying you cannot drive the car. Otherwise, I would let you drive my car while I'm here in the hospital." What a wonderful woman she was. I didn't have to read Upside Down for that. But the Upside Down thing reminded me of that story. And I think that's all I'm going to do is tell the story. Because it's going to go there from here. This is where it's going. This is where it's going. It's going to go there from here. There's going to be more songs. There's going to be more poetry. There's going to be more spoken word about how I came to be here now and what I am now and what is going on now. That's what this whole thing is going to be about. And, you know, I want you guys to subscribe. I want comments and I want likes. That's what I want. I love doing this crap. I mean, I'm talking about me. A lot of times I think it's crap, but I love it. I love it. I love putting out crap, you know? I mean, it's like my movement once a week rather than once a day. But if you want to subscribe, that's great, and I would like to have more subscribers. But if you don't, you don't. But check it out every once in a while, because I might have a good story to tell. I don't know if this story was good or not. I know that in the past people have listened to that story. I got other stories. I have stories about going on now. I might have a weekly story of something that happened this week and do it in some kind of poetic or musical or spoken word form. I might have illustrations. I don't know. I might wear costumes. Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to do. All I know is this. Well, they call me Joe Fingers, 'cause I'm good with my hand. They call me Joe Fingers, 'cause I'm good with my hand. Not only that, I'm a piano playing man. Oh, Smyth says he's got them glasses that make him look cool. Oh, he says he got them glasses that make him look so cool. Well, I got his glasses now. From now on, he'll think he looks just like a fool. Well, they call me Joe Finger, 'cause I'm good with my hand. Call me Joe Fingers, 'cause I'm good. I'm not that Fingersmith man. Check me out every Friday, 11 p.m. No, 11 a.m. Every Friday, 11 a.m. It's 11 p.m. somewhere, but not here in Florida. Every Friday, 11 a.m. Check me out starting this Friday. Whatever this Friday is, it's going to be happening.